Halloween at 15 was serious business. It wasn't about costumes or photos anymore. It was about speed. Hit every porch, beat your friends, fill the bucket. We'd planned our route a week ahead. 4 blocks, 32 houses, a guaranteed full pillowcase if we moved fast. It was me, Max, and Lucas. 3 kids old enough to think we were adults, but still dumb enough to chase free candy like it was currency. Max was a pirate. Bandana, eyeliner, swagger. Lucas had a football jersey under a hoodie and called it a low-effort costume. I was a ninja, wrapped in cheap black fabric that shed fuzz and made me sweat like crazy. The neighborhood was alive. Orange lights, leaf piles glowing in the dark, porch speakers blasting cheesy Halloween playlists. Kids shouted from driveways, parents laughed from folding chairs. It felt safe, until the moment it didn't. We were halfway through the loop when we saw the house. No lights, no decorations. Lawn neatly raked, but no pumpkins, no cobwebs, nothing. We almost passed it automatically. Everyone knows, no porch light, no candy. But then the door cracked open. A man leaned out, mid-40s maybe, wearing a gray jacket that reflected the light. He smiled. Still handing out, he said, "Come quick before we run out." I stopped. The rule was clear, but the door being open like that broke the pattern. Max was like, "Dude, keep moving," but you know how that goes. I stepped up the walkway. The porch boards creaked under my sneakers. The man stood halfway behind the door, holding out a plastic bowl. Orange wrappers glinted inside. From this distance, it looked legit. He opened the door wider. The light from inside was yellow and weak, like a bulb left on in an empty room. I could see a narrow hallway. Bare floor, no rug, no pictures. I don't know why that didn't stop me. Maybe it was just the confidence in his voice, the way adults talk when they're used to being listened to. He stepped back, gesturing me in. "Come on, kid, don't be shy." The candy bowl looked light in his hand, like half empty. I crossed the threshold. The moment I did, the air changed. I smelled something chemical. Then I heard it. The metallic click of a deadbolt sliding home behind me. "Which school are you from?" he asked like we were starting a normal conversation. Ridgeview," I said. He smiled. "Ridgeview? Yeah, we used to live by there." His tone was too casual. I looked around again. No furniture, no shoes, no coats. The walls were blank with rectangular patches where pictures had once hung. The only thing on the floor was a single folded, moving box leaning against the wall. He reached toward my elbow. "We've got bigger bars in the kitchen. Come on through." The way his hand hovered, it wasn't guiding. "Actually," I said, "my friends are waiting. I should." He talked over me. "They can wait. You came this far." Something creaked deeper in the house. A step or a shift of weight on old wood. Movement. My throat went dry. I'll grab one and go." He didn't move, just smiled and said softly, "Bathroom's that way if you need to wash your hands." Behind me, Max shouted from the porch, "Yo, Ninja, you good?" The man looked at the door, then back at me. He said nothing. "Yeah," I called, louder than I meant to. "Coming." I tried to step back. His fingers brushed the hood of my costume, catching the drawstring under my chin. For a split second, we both froze. Then adrenaline took over. I shoved forward, knocking the bowl against his chest. Candy scattered across the floor. I slammed my shoulder into the door, felt the lock resist, and kicked hard. Max's voice came again, and then the door yanked open from the outside. I tripped out the door, grabbing the porch rail to keep from falling. Lucas grabbed my arm. The man stood in the doorway. He smiled. He wasn't angry or embarrassed, just calm. "Careful out there," he said. "Lots of strange people tonight." Then he shut the door. We didn't speak for half a block. At my house, my dad answered the door holding a half-carved pumpkin. I told him everything. He didn't interrupt. He just put the knife down, wiped his hands, and said, "Let's go." My mom called 911 while my dad grabbed a flashlight. A few minutes later, half the neighborhood was walking behind us. Parents, dogs, and curiosity. The house looked unchanged, dark, calm, ordinary. 2 officers showed up fast. They knocked. No answer. One tried the handle, locked. He peeked through the front window with a flashlight. "Empty," he said. They went around back. We waited, staring at the closed door. The longer we stood there, the less believable the whole thing felt. I started wondering if I'd overreacted, if maybe the man lived there and it really had been nothing. Then the officers came back. "Back door's been pried," one said. "House is vacant. Bank owned. Foreclosed this summer." He pointed to fresh tool marks around the latch. "Someone's been squatting here." That word, squatting, hit me like an aftershock. I pictured the scuff marks on the floor, the missing furniture, the strange smell. Not someone living. Someone staying. The officer took my statement. I tried to describe the man. Gray jacket, average height, short hair, maybe brown or black. I couldn't remember his face clearly, just his eyes, the way they moved, not toward me, but around me, scanning. When we left, the police taped a notice across the door frame. "Do not enter. Property secured." The yellow strip fluttered in the wind like it was pretending to keep something inside. Back home, Mom handed us hot chocolate. None of us drank it. Max dumped his candy out and said, "Bro, he could have had like a knife." I told him I didn't see one. He said, "Doesn't matter." And he was right. It didn't. For the rest of the week, that house was all anyone talked about. The story grew with every retelling. Someone said the guy had a gun. Another said he was dragging a kid inside when police arrived. None of it true, but I didn't correct them. The truth was already bad enough. A few days later, I walked by during daylight. The house looked smaller, less haunted, more sad. The yard was a mess of wet leaves now, the rake lines long gone. The police tape was still there, but the bottom corner had peeled loose. Through the gap, I could see the foyer floor. No candy, no bowl, just a faint square on the floor where something heavy used to sit. Mr. Carney, the old guy 2 doors down, was raking his yard. I asked if he'd seen anyone go in since that night. He said no, but he had seen the door open by itself once the following morning. Wind, maybe. Then he asked if I was sleeping okay. I told him yes, even though I wasn't. At school, the whole thing turned into an urban legend before the weekend. The guy in the gray coat, the empty house trick. Even the teachers mentioned it during announcements. Remember, never enter a stranger's home, even if they say it's for candy. Everyone laughed except me. I stopped trick-or-treating after that year. My little brother took my spot in the group. Mom always says she doesn't blame me, but she still watches him like a hawk from the end of the driveway. That house has been repainted now, new owners, new lawn furniture. They probably have no idea. The new porch looks the same though. Same boards, same front step. And sometimes I hear it again in my head, the man's voice saying, "Come quick before we run out." That line plays on repeat whenever Halloween rolls around. Because I know now what it really meant. He wasn't running out of candy. He was running out of time before someone saw him. We moved to Raleigh 2 years ago, into a cul-de-sac lined with magnolias and leaning mailboxes. That Halloween, my 4-year-old son went as an astronaut, a papier-mâché helmet we made together, duct-taped seams, white sweats with felt patches. He marched up every porch saying, "Mission control, candy confirmed," while I followed with a flashlight and a smile. Our next-door neighbor, Mr. Franklin, had a doorbell camera and caught a perfect clip of my son waving to himself in the feed. The neighborhood group loved it. Comments stacked up. Cutest astronaut on the block, NASA's newest recruit. I felt proud. Harmless, small-town sharing. At 11:42 p.m., after he'd crashed in bed and I was finishing dishes, my phone pinged. The email subject read, "Your little astronaut." Attached was the same clip, same file name from an address I didn't recognize. One line of text, "Cute kid. What street again?" At first, I thought it was a neighbor forwarding from another thread. But the sender's address was random, numbers and letters, not Gmail or Outlook. I started typing a reply, deleted it, typed again, then messaged Mr. Franklin instead. "Did you email me that clip from another account?" He answered almost instantly, "No, just posted it in the group." "Why?" When I sent the screenshot, his next message came fast. "That's not me. Don't reply." The room seemed smaller. My husband was at the hospital on a night shift, and the house suddenly felt like a display window. I tried to reason it away, some random spammer, a weird coincidence. But that little line kept echoing. What street again? 17 minutes later, another email arrived. Same sender. No subject. Inside was a still image from the clip, zoomed tight on my son's face. Just one sentence. "Did you move since last year?" That was the moment my calm cracked. We'd trick-or-treated on another street the year before, just a few blocks over, and I'd posted those photos too. Maybe someone had connected them, or maybe this person wanted me to confirm the address myself. I called the non-emergency police line. The dispatcher's tone was professional but kind. "Don't reply. Forward the emails to our cyber unit," she said, "and check your sharing settings on any smart devices." I turned off link sharing, changed the password, enabled two-factor authentication. Then I combed through my social media, hid the photo, deleted the hashtags, locked my account. It felt overcautious and too late at the same time. Mr. Franklin texted again. "Just checked. My clip was public in the neighborhood app. Didn't realize. Sorry if that caused it." I replied, "No blame. Let's both lock things down." I left the hall light on that night, turned it off, turned it back on. I didn't sleep much. By morning, I had a new list. Change router password, rename Wi-Fi, update security questions. My husband helped, teasing me until he saw the cropped photo. Then he stopped joking. We sent everything to the cyber unit and went about our day, pretending we hadn't invited something invisible into our home. That afternoon, the neighborhood group was already buzzing about privacy. "Blur your kids' faces," someone wrote. "It's only our neighbors," another replied. Half agreed, half argued. I added a comment about using two-factor authentication. No one laughed at the paranoid mom this time. At 6:03 p.m., another email came through. Subject line, "Can we trade?" Attached, another zoomed image of my son, helmet fogged with breath, porch light shining on the visor. The caption read, "I'll send you one of mine." That line was worse than any threat could have been. I forwarded it to the cyber unit immediately, then walked to Mr. Franklin's house. He was already outside. We talked in that low, controlled way neighbors do when pretending everything's fine. "I disabled public sharing," he said. "Didn't know it was default. Any way to see who downloaded?" He shook his head. "Could be anyone following the hashtag." We both stood there watching cars crawl through the cul-de-sac, trying to decide if we were overreacting or the only ones reacting enough. The next morning, the cyber unit called. They'd traced the messages through a forwarding service that masks origin. "We'd need a subpoena to go further," the agent said. "You did the right things. Password change, two-factor, limited sharing. Just be cautious about posting children's images." I asked, "Should we replace the camera?" He paused. "If it helps you feel secure, yes. The brand isn't the issue, it's how we use them." That night, I ordered a new model with no community share option and installed it myself. The setup screen asked, "Enable neighborhood features." I unchecked every box. A week later, another email appeared at 2:12 a.m. No subject, no text, just a single period. I forwarded it, rolled over, and watched the blue light from the router blink until morning. Halloween hasn't felt the same since. I still hand out candy, still love the decorations and the noise. But now, when kids stop at our porch, I don't record anything. I just watch and enjoy it live. The following October, my son went as a firefighter. I took one photo on my phone, him spraying a garden hose flame, and sent it only to my parents. The police never found who sent the messages. The last note from the cyber unit said the trail was inconclusive. People say the internet never forgets. What they don't mention is how you never forget what you gave it for free. A face, a voice, a location. A child waving to himself. This year, our cul-de-sac added a sign at the end of the street. Photos okay, no faces, please. It's small comfort, but it's something. I still take pictures, still share them privately with family. But I don't tag, I don't post, and I don't assume that neighborhood means safe. My son's planning to be a comet this year. Streamers, glitter, chaos. I'll record him on my phone, text it to my sister, and then set the device down. No hashtags, no uploads, no trail. Because I learned something that night, staring at those emails. Not all masks hide behind costumes. Some hide behind screens, smiles, and perfectly polite words like cute kid. And somewhere out there, a stranger still has my son's face saved in a folder with a name I'll never know. Halloween always felt easy as a dad night. Walk the block, carry the coats, and sneak a candy or two. The neighborhood did all the work. Block party on the street, crock pots of chili, kids trading candy on tarps, adults passing out cider. My 5-year-old Maya was a ladybug that year. Red wings covered in glitter and a pink plastic pumpkin she rolled like luggage. She called it her candy briefcase. We set up near the folding tables with lawn chairs and a blanket. Kids dumped candy piles and bartered like little merchants. I kept an eye on Maya while talking to neighbors, trying to strike that balance between giving her space and staying close. She was learning how to trade. 2 minis for a full-size, no coconut, and under no circumstance could anyone touch her pumpkin without asking. The night was perfect. String lights overhead, Bluetooth speakers, the smell of cinnamon and chili. Then, a shadow fell across her tarp. A tall adult, dressed in some kind of generic superhero outfit, hood, gloves, cape, knelt beside her. "Tell you what, superstar," he said, showing 2 candy bars. "I'll give you 2 for that one." Maya giggled. She loved trades. The guy dropped the bars, took a blue lollipop from her pile, and gave her bucket a little pat. "Pleasure doing business," he said with a theatrical bow, then melted into the crowd. It was the kind of silly Halloween interaction you forget in minutes. I did. The raffle started, a dinosaur costume tripped over a sprinkler, and Maya bragged about her haul the whole way home. The next morning, while rinsing her pumpkin in the sink, my nail caught something under the rim. I expected a leftover sticker. Instead, I peeled off a small round plastic disc, white, smooth, coin-sized, with a battery slot. It wasn't candy or a toy. It looked like a tracking tag. I just stared at it for a second. Maya was at the table humming, sorting wrappers. I forced my voice to stay calm. "Hey, sweetie, can you grab your backpack and coat for me?" She skipped off. I flipped the tag over with a fork. Tiny printed letters, a web address, a model number. I typed it into my phone. The company's site came up instantly. Find what matters most. Track from your phone. My core went tight, like I'd been punched without contact. I slid the battery out and sealed the whole thing in a sandwich bag. When Maya came back, I smiled like nothing was wrong. "Go brush your teeth, kiddo." As soon as I heard running water, I called the non-emergency police line. "Hi," I said. "I found what I think is a GPS tracker stuck to my daughter's Halloween bucket." The officer arrived within half an hour. Kind, calm, the kind of guy you trust right away. He bagged the tag and took notes while I explained. Costumed adult, I said. Crouch down to trade. Tap the bucket. He didn't tell me I was overreacting. He just said, let's take a walk and check cameras. We went back to the street. Streamers sagging, folding tables gone, kids chalk fading on the sidewalk. My neighbor, Mrs. Harper, had a doorbell camera pointed right at where Maya had been sitting. We scrubbed through the footage from half an hour before the trade. The officer paused the frame. There he was, the tall man in the hood, crouched behind the craft table, carefully tearing strips of tape. You could see him press something under the lip of the tablecloth, adjusting it just so. Then he stood, dusted his gloves, and walked toward the crowd. It was him, the same cape. My mouth suddenly felt like sandpaper. The officer saved the clip and bagged the timestamp printout. We'll trace the tag, he said. You did everything right. He asked if I wanted to file a full report. Yes, I said. And can you tell me what he wanted? He sighed. Probably to track where she went. Could be curiosity, could be worse. You found it early. That's what matters. I nodded, but that night the silence in our house felt electric. I'd spent years teaching Maya about stranger danger, about cars, not candy. But I'd never imagined someone slipping tech into her world so easily. Just a touch on a pink pumpkin in a crowd. The next day, I bought her a new bucket, clear plastic. She hated it. It looks like hospital stuff, she said. I let her cover it in glitter stickers and spell her name along the rim. She perked up a little, but I hated what it meant. That her safety had to come wrapped in transparency. 2 days later, the detective called. The tag came from an online marketplace. Common model. Sold anonymously. Serial not registered. In other words, nowhere to go. He added, keep an eye out for anyone contacting you, especially if they mention Halloween or your neighborhood. No one did. But that didn't bring the ease back. The neighborhood group chat blew up for a week. Parents checking candy, posting warnings, arguing about whether I was paranoid. Someone said I'd made it up to scare people. Mrs. Harper defended me. I saw the footage. The thread went quiet after that. I kept asking myself, why her? Random, maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe he watched her all night. Her bright costume, her pink pumpkin easy to spot in a crowd, and picked her because she was trusting, smiling, distracted by candy. That thought burned. We stayed close after that. I sat on the tarp with her next year. Adults who wanted to trade had to talk to both of us. Some looked awkward, some understood right away. The police never found him. The report stayed open but cold. I kept the tag in its evidence bag in a desk drawer next to Maya's drawings. I couldn't throw it away. It was proof that the world I thought we lived in, a safe, cheerful, middle-class neighborhood, could turn sharp at the edges without warning. One night, months later, Maya asked out of nowhere, "Dad, why do we have the clear bucket now?" I told her the truth, or part of it, because sometimes people put things where they shouldn't, and it helps us see everything before we use it. She frowned. So, we're just looking better? Exactly, I said. We're just looking better. That became a running joke in our house. Before bedtime, we looked better today, right, Dad? Before leaving the grocery store, you looked better, Dad, she said it with a giggle, not realizing how much weight those words carried. The next Halloween, she was a bumblebee. When we got home, I washed her clear bucket. No residue, no tape, no tag. Still, I checked 3 times. But that's the thing about Halloween. It's the one night the whole world disguises itself. And sometimes, someone out there doesn't take theirs off when the night ends. I don't think about him every day anymore, but I never stop checking. Candy bags, backpacks, car handles, stroller trays. I look underneath things now. Not out of paranoia, just out of practice. When Maya asks why I do that, I say because good dads check, and maybe that's true. Or maybe it's the only way I know to keep from seeing those gloved hands every time she laughs. No one remembers him but me. And maybe that's why I tell this story every year. Not to scare anyone, but because pretending it couldn't happen again would be the real horror. Now, when I see other parents at block parties, eyes half distracted, I say what the officer told me. Stay in the conversation. Stay close. People doing normal things don't care that you're listening. I don't say the rest aloud, but I think it every time I see a stranger linger a second too long near a child's candy bucket. The scariest monsters don't take anything right away. They just make sure they know where you go next. Our church's trunk or treat was the kind of event people bragged about. Bright lights, open trunks, friendly faces. Safety by design. You could almost believe nothing bad could happen in a place like that. It was October 2018. My husband was working nights, so it was just me and our kids. Sadie, 7, dressed as a veterinarian, and Josh, 5, the proudest firefighter in Texas. The parking lot glowed orange from hanging bulbs and music. Cars lined in a horseshoe, trunks decorated with cardboard ghosts and spider webs. Each volunteer wore a name tag lanyard. We all knew the rules. 1 candy per kid, no running, say thank you. The PA crackled, "Welcome everyone, stay in line and enjoy the fun." I'd signed up for cider duty, but halfway through my shift, I took the kids for one last loop. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught the shape of someone. A man I didn't recognize. Jeans, hoodie, baseball cap low over his face, stood by a trunk labeled prizes. The decorations were minimal. Dollar store garland, a pumpkin bucket, no church logo, no name tag. He wasn't handing out candy like everyone else. Instead, he shook a plastic capsule towards Sadie. "Better than sugar," he said with a grin. "Mystery toys." I hesitated, but the line behind us was moving, kids chattering. Sadie looked up for approval and I nodded. She took 1 capsule, said thank you, and we moved on. I remember thinking he must have been a last-minute volunteer. By 8 p.m., the cider was gone, the speakers were buzzing, and everyone was happy. I loaded my sleepy kids into the car and went home feeling the kind of tired that feels good. That lasted until the next morning. After breakfast, I spotted the capsule Sadie had left on the counter. Blue plastic, like the ones from vending machines. I picked it up to toss in the trash, but it felt heavier than a bouncy ball. Curious, I twisted it open. Inside was a small metal keychain, smooth and round, no logo, just a tiny hole on one side. I turned it under the light and noticed a seam, and then inside that hole, a glassy black dot. A lens. At first, I thought maybe it was a laser pointer or a toy flashlight. But when I pried it open with a screwdriver, my stomach turned. There was a micro SD slot, a coin battery, a sliver of circuitry. I didn't need to be a tech genius to know what it was. A hidden camera. Everything around me felt normal, and that normalcy was what made it terrifying. I locked the back door and sat down at the kitchen table, trying to decide what I was going to do next. Then I thought of that man's trunk, the blank decorations, the missing name tag, and my gut told me what to do. I called our church coordinator, Ruth. She knew every volunteer personally. When I described him, she said, "No prizes trunk on the list." Her voice went flat. She didn't sound curious anymore. "Bring that thing here, right now." I dropped the kids off at school and drove straight there. We called the security office together. The technician replayed footage from the lot. The man's trunk appeared in the corner of the frame. He arrived early, set up alone, waved off the volunteer, handing him a lanyard. When the camera zoomed in, his decorations looked like they'd come from one store bag. No theme. He kept his head down the whole night. We scrubbed forward to closing time. He handed out capsules fast, like clearing stock. Then, 5 minutes before the end, he shut his trunk, handed a tote to someone just outside the frame, and drove off. No plates visible on the front of his car. Ruth's hand went to her chest. He's not one of ours. We called the police. An officer came within an hour. He photographed the keychain through the plastic bag. "Don't touch it," he said. "We'll get a tech unit to pull data." He asked if I'd seen him give Sadie the capsule personally. I said yes, and explained how he'd joked about it being better than sugar. Security footage confirmed he stayed near the dark corner of the lot the entire night. Never once came to the cider table, never chatted with the pastors, never took a bathroom break. Just handed out his prizes. By that afternoon, police had collected several capsules from other families. 2 contained the same kind of camera keychain. None had saved files. The memory cards were blank. "Wiped," one of the officers said. That night, I lay awake listening to the house settle. I realized what scared me most wasn't what was on those cameras. It was what someone wanted from them. At Sunday service, Ruth made an announcement. "If you handed out items not on the approved list, please see me after church." No one came forward. Life moved on, but it didn't feel the same. I started volunteering for check-in every year after that. Clipboard in hand, greeting every face, making sure names matched sign-up forms. Sadie made name tags for everyone out of construction paper that said things like, "Hello, I'm safe, and Jesus loves candy." People laughed, but I could tell they also appreciated it. It made them seen. That spring, an officer from the case dropped by to update me. "We never recovered usable footage," he said, "but we think the cameras were meant to stream, not store." "Stream?" I asked. "Like a live feed. Whoever made them probably watched in real time." I thanked him for telling me. The following year, Trunk or Treat came again. One young dad joked, "You run this place like TSA." "Good," I said, smiling. "Nobody sneaks through TSA." He laughed, but didn't know how literal I meant it. By the end of the night, Josh was sticky with lollipop sugar, and Sadie proudly handed out her handmade stickers. When we got home, I dumped their buckets and checked everything. Candy, stickers, a tiny plastic ring, nothing strange. For the first time in a while, I let myself breathe. Safety isn't automatic. It's something you announce, something you build. That night taught me that safety isn't a system. It's people paying attention. I never saw that man again. Maybe he moved on. Maybe he tried somewhere else. But every time I see someone hand a child something sealed in plastic, I think about how small that capsule was, how harmless it looked in the light. Danger doesn't always snatch or shout. Sometimes it smiles, makes a joke, and drops a gift into your child's bucket before walking away. We still go to Trunk or Treat every year. We still decorate our car, still play music, still hand out candy. But before the first kid arrives, I check every trunk along the row. I shake the prizes in my hand to hear how they sound. If it rattles light like candy, fine. If it thuds heavy like metal, no. People laugh when I do it. That's fine. I'd rather be the mom who checks than the one who wishes she had. At the end of last year's event, as I buckled the kids into their car seats, Josh looked up at me and said, "That was the best night ever." I smiled, checked the back seat out of habit, and saw only candy. All I wanted was a chill Halloween night. I had a bowl, a book, and a porch light. Just one calm evening for the little ones. The porch looked like a picture out of a catalog. Carved pumpkins, tidy railing, woven mat dead center. I'd set a big glass bowl of candy on the small table beside the door, my phone within arm's reach, paperback waiting face down. The plan was perfect. Doorbell, smile, candy, back to reading. By 6:30, the parade began. Princesses, pirates, superheroes with crooked masks. Their laughter carried across the lawns, and every knock felt like part of a Halloween dance. I loved that rhythm. It all felt so right. But near 8, things changed. 4 older teens showed up. No costumes, just black hoodies and plastic fangs. They came in a tight cluster, heads down. One stepped forward, grabbed a handful of candy, mumbled thanks, and left. I shrugged. Late night stragglers, nothing new. Except they came back. Same group, same kid walking up, same quiet shuffle. When I said, "You were just here," he acted like he hadn't heard, looked past me into the house, then left again. That look stuck with me. He wasn't looking at me, he was scanning behind me. They showed up a third time. The one at the door rested his gloved hand on the storm door handle. I smiled, said, "All right, last round for you guys," and shut the door tight. From the window, I watched them move to the curb. They stood there whispering, one pointing toward the side of my yard. A bad feeling crept in, the kind that isn't panic yet, just a quiet alert. I opened the door camera feed on my phone. The front looked clear. Then I tapped the side camera. The motion sensor had triggered. A quick blur, something moving near the fence line, too tall for an animal. I told myself it was nothing. Teenagers like to spook people. But I lowered the volume on the door chime anyway and kept the phone in my pocket. At 8:19 p.m., the bell rang again. Same kid, hoodie up, gloves on. This time, only one other figure behind him, standing at the sidewalk. "Sorry," I said, "we're done for the night." He didn't move. "Just one more?" He reached out, not for the candy, but toward the seam of the door. "Okay," I said, handing him the bowl through the gap, but keeping my foot against the jamb. His glove grazed the frame before he took a single piece and left. He turned at the bottom of the steps and stared at the house one more time before walking off. I locked the door, slid the chain, and checked the window. The two figures were at the curb again, heads close. One of them gestured toward my side gate. I checked the cameras. The side feed lit up. Motion detected. The grainy video showed a taller shape gliding along the fence. Head ducked, moving too smoothly to be casual. When the motion light flared, the person darted back into shadow. That was enough for me. I grabbed my keys from the table and called 911. "Hi, I'm home alone, giving out candy. A group of older teens keeps coming to the door, and I just saw someone near my backyard gate." The dispatcher's calm helped. She told me to stay inside, keep doors locked, and stay on the line. While she spoke, another notification popped up. Back motion detected. I switched to the rear camera. The patio slider glowed under the kitchen lights. The motion box pulsed near the bottom track. Someone, or something, was there. I whispered to the dispatcher, "Someone's at my back door." She told me officers were on the way. I reached for the wall switch and killed the porch light. The house instantly changed character. Without that warm glow, the storm door became a mirror. My reflection looked like a stranger's. Then I pressed my car alarm fob. The horn exploded through the quiet. Headlights lit the driveway, and the motion floods at the side and back blasted on. In the camera feed, the shadow at the slider jerked up, startled. A person bolted through the gate, sprinting toward the drainage strip beyond the yard. Out front, 3 shapes flinched and scattered. 2 ran into the street, 1 cut along my hedge. I kept the horn going. Neighbors' lights blinked on up and down the block. A dog started barking, music to my ears. The dispatcher said, "Keep it going, units are 2 minutes out." The next moments stretched. I watched the front feed. Empty street, but something metallic glinted near my walkway. I couldn't tell what. My breath synced with the alarm pulses. When the cruisers arrived, red-blue flashes swept the windows. I opened the door only after hearing the knock pattern she'd promised. 2 fast, 1 slow, my name called clear. 2 officers entered, asked if I was alone. One did a quick sweep of the first floor. The other stood by me, eyes scanning the monitors. Outside, another voice called, "Got something!" We moved to the kitchen. On the back step, half buried in mulch, lay a small pry tool. Flat, taped handle. Fresh dirt clinging to the edge. Shoe prints dotted the damp soil near the slider. The pattern looked like sneakers, teen-sized, maybe men's 8 or 9. One officer bagged the tool, another photographed the tracks. "You did everything right," the older one told me. "Noise, light, early call. That's what stops them." He wasn't reassuring me for comfort. It was fact. I stared at the prints through the glass, wondering how close they'd actually gotten before I'd noticed. The scrape on the doorframe said too close. They canvassed the street. A few neighbors stepped out in robes, phones filming from porches. One mentioned seeing the same group earlier, moving from house to house, but skipping any with more than one car in the driveway. The officers checked my footage, noting the times. "They use the porch light as a marker," one explained. "Kids look for candy, criminals look for opportunity." After they left, the silence felt heavy. I turned the locks again, even the ones that didn't need it. I texted my next-door neighbor, "Sorry for the alarm, had some unwanted visitors." She replied instantly, "Don't apologize, better loud than sorry." I sat at the table, staring at my car keys. I'd never realized how comforting a plastic fob could be. Sleep was pointless. Every flick of shadow under the window blinds made me reach for the phone. By 2 a.m., I gave up and brewed coffee, waiting for morning light like it was backup. Monday afternoon, the police called. Other houses nearby had reported similar visits. Teens distracting at the front while someone circled to the back. One place lost a wallet from a mudroom shelf. Another caught them trying a sliding door but scared them off with a dog. No arrests yet, but they had my footage, my timestamps, and my description. The officer said, "You probably prevented a break-in." That should have felt like a victory. It didn't. It just left a hollow kind of relief, the kind that doesn't fade, only settles. When my sister asked later if it had ruined Halloween for me, I told her no. It just changed it. I still want kids to have fun, but now I know the boundary line between festive and foolish. I still hand out candy, just earlier. I keep the storm door locked and the bowl near the threshold so no one has to lean inside. The second the groups get older and quieter, the light goes off. I've told neighbors what happened, and now we check in by text on Halloween nights. If one of us spots a group making repeat rounds, we say something, a shared code of alertness. Trick or treat is for children. My porch will stay open for them and locked for everyone else. That night taught me one thing I'll never forget. The glow of a porch light can either welcome innocence or bait it. If these stories made you rethink your childhood candy runs, welcome to the club. Smash that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss the next scare, and tell me which one hit too close to home. And if you think Halloween can't get darker than this, oh, you're so wrong. Click now to watch 4 disturbing Halloween horror stories, because every year, someone's Halloween story doesn't end with laughter. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.